Welcome to another episode of My Name's Jose Najarro, and today I'm going to talk about real estate investment. The main point of this episode is going to be if I should do it with solo or with a partner. If you are just finding my channel, I mainly do videos about stock investments. But the real premises of what I'm trying to do is I want to end up financially free. So I know that I have to build assets out there, and that's why I started looking into real estate investments. I recently got married. So a little backstory, right? I recently got married in October of 2018. Right now we're sitting in January of 2020. So about a year and 2 months ago. My wife and I, she's also an engineer, so she's a very analytical person. And we were like, hey, we need to start getting into real estate investments. So we set ourselves a goal. We gave ourselves a goal that by the beginning of 2020, so a year and 2 months after we got married, we were going to save up $40,000 to be able to invest in real estate property. The closer we got to that $40,000 and the closer we got to January 2020, I started thinking, what would be the benefits if we did this with a partnership or if we did this solo? I wanted to do it with a partnership because I thought it would be better and we could get a lot more for it. My wife, she's like I mentioned, she's a very analytical person. So I can't just come up to her with an idea like that. I would have, and I appreciate that, right? She's a very business-minded person. So yes, it'll be nice to do it with a friend, but at the end of the day is what do we gain by doing it with a friend, right? What can we feed off each other by doing it with a partnership? So I ended up creating this slide, which ended up at the end of the day, you're gonna see it ended up deciding. Actually, I'll save that for later. So remember, like I said, our initial plan was to go in solo investor, just us two, with $40,000 to invest. So let's get started. Also, if you guys have just found my channel, make sure to subscribe. I'm definitely going to start doing more videos outside of just stocks, of just where my wife and I are saving money, how we're saving money, how we're doing this real estate investment. I'm actually even going to do videos of where I'm looking and how I'm finding the special locations of how I'm finding the locations of where I want to buy real estate investments. So like this scenario, the investor's ready to purchase, money available for down payments $40,000, and I say money available for closing costs is $10,000, which is about the price we paid. It's cheaper than that what we paid for our first home, which is our residential home. So we just wanted to do around this. So the total mortgage allowed, if 20%, would be about $200,000. So now these are just probabilities, numbers I actually pulled out of my back, but it helps make the point of doing it single or with a partner. So let's say throughout this whole video, we're gonna have this probability that for us, we're gonna buy a two unit house. For the house to be fully rented, both units occupied, we have about a 33% chance of having the house fully rented. We have about a 50% chance of one unit rented, and we have a 16% chance of no units being rented. And like I said, these numbers are just pulled out of nowhere. It all depends on where you invest, but it's definitely in this kind of economy where jobs are booming, we definitely have a higher chance of one unit to being rented than no units being rented. And we have the full house being rented better than no units being rented, depending on where you buy a house, right? So we're just going with these probabilities. So case one, solo, buy one property with 2 units. The house costs $200,000. Down payment was the $40,000. Let's say rent are equally in both units, $500. Again, these are just numbers to help us understand this probability. Rent 1 is $500, rent 2 is $500. Let's say mortgage is $750. Scenarios available. So the first scenario available is that we have both units rented. If we have both units rented, we collect $1,000 in rent and we pay $750 in mortgage. We have a positive cash flow of $250. I know there's other expenses that I'm going to talk about in other videos. Like if, let's say, I'm doing it out of state, so I'm going to have management property fees. I'm going to have the lawn maintenance, any other stuff. We're going to have other fees later on. So right now, like I mentioned, This is just to get the point of solo versus partnership. So I'm not adding all the fees that I know we might have. So if we have 2 of the 2 units rented, we're actually have a positive cash flow of $250. If we have 1 of the 2 unit rented, that means we're only collecting $500. We still have to pay that $750 mortgage, so we have a negative cash flow of $250, which is in real estate investment, especially for us, we're more of trying to build equity with this. So we understand by only paying 20% down payments, we're not going to be getting a huge cash flow, but what we are going to be building is an equity line that later on we can use to purchase even more houses. Next, we're going to have 0 units. So the last thing is we're going to have 0 units rented. That means we collect $0 in rent, and we have to pay that $750 in mortgage. So we're down $750 a month. So our max gain is $250. Our max loss is $750. Now let's say case 2. Let's say case 2, we go with the partner. We go with just 1 extra partner. So let's say we buy 2 of the same houses. So each house has 2 units, so a total of 4 units. We buy 2 properties. The total house for both of them was 200 times 2, so that's $400,000. The 20% down payment of $400,000 is $80,000, and that goes back to our $40,000 per investor. So that's exactly where my wife and I are at right now, right? So now we have 4 units. We collect rent of $500 each unit, so that's a $2,000 rent. Mortgage, let's just double our mortgage, right? It was $750 for $200,000. Now it'll be $1,500 for $400,000. Assuming the same probabilities we had before, right? So we're going to talk about probabilities later, but just remember the probabilities we had before. I'll go to them later. But now there's a chance. Now we have more scenarios. We can have 4 units being rented. If we have 4 units rented, we have $2,000 in rent minus $1,500 in mortgage. We have $500. But remember, there's two investors, so we have about $250 cash flow per investor, which is the exact same if we had a solo partnership. In the solo partnership, remember, our max gain was $250 and our max loss was $750. Next, if we have 3 of the 4 units rented, we actually break even at $0. This is a new case. We did not have a place where we broke even. We either had 250 minus 250 or minus 750. But here, look, if we have 3 of the 4 units rented, we're actually breaking even and we don't have to give anything up front. If we have 2 out of the 4 units rented, then we have that same scenario where we have to pay up $250 per mortgage per month. If we have 1 of the 4 units, we have to pay $500 a month in mortgage. And if we have no units rented, we have to pay $750 per investor a month. So per investor, we still have the same amount of max gain and the same amount of max loss. So what is the difference, right? We're still able to gain the same max amount of money, $250 per month, and we're still able to lose the same amount of money per month, $750 if we have no units rented. So let's take a look at the chart. Remember at the first slide, remember my first slide, I gave some probabilities, and I'm gonna go with these probabilities to show, just to show how great probability is and why it's important to know probabilities. So let's say the full house is rented was 33% chance. 1 unit being rented was 50% chance, and no units rented was 17% chance. So look, all right, so in scenario 1, we have the solo investor making money. So making money is this green is $250 per investor. And since we're a solo investor, we have a 33% chance of doing that. The next case is losing money, which is this yellow case. Losing money is losing $250. It's a 50% chance of losing $250 because remember, 50% chance of having 1 unit rented. So we had a 50% chance of losing $250, and we have a 17% chance of losing $750. So losing money is both the yellow and the red. So as a solo investor, we have a 67% chance of losing money. So that's actually pretty high. Now let's look at a team investor. So as a team investor, making money $250 per month, we have 4 units. So the chances of having 4 units rented opposed to 2 units rented is a lot lower. So making money 250, we actually have 11% chance of making $250, where last time we had 33% chance. But look at this, making no money. So this is break even. We have a 33% chance of breaking even. And breaking even is actually not a bad thing, like I mentioned. As us only paying a 20% down payment on the house, we don't expect a huge cash flow that will help us, that would really help us right now. What we're really trying is to build that equity line to be able to build even more small portfolios where smaller cash flows start to add up. So we start to build an equity line by paying down this mortgage, and then we'll be able to use that equity line to buy more properties. So right, we have a 33% chance of making no money. We have a 36% chance of losing $250. We have a 17% chance of losing $500. And look, the chance of losing the max amount of money of $750, instead of 17% chance. So in the solo investor scenario, we had a 17% chance of losing $750, which is a month, which is actually a big amount. If you're losing $750, I'm sure you're not paying off any. You're building equity still, but you're very negative cash flow. Like even as you're building equity, you're still losing money. And here you only have a 3% chance of losing $750. So now, as a solo investor, you had 67% chance of losing money. Now you have, if you do as a team investor, you have 56% chance of losing money, and that's huge, right? Changing that from 67% chance of losing money to 56% chance of losing money, you are increasing your odds dramatically. Now let's have scenarios, right? So even though the chance of losing money is this, there's different scenarios. My wife and I, we have talked about it. As an investor, we are happy paying up to $250 a month because at that stand, we still end up building equity. If we pay up to $250, we'll be happy. $250, we're still building equity with that $250, so that's okay with us. A-okay, so we would be happy. We would be okay if we have to pay $250 to $500. It won't affect our lifestyle as much, but hey, we can survive. We'll be okay. If we have to pay more than $500 a month, we would not be happy. This would be a horrible investment if we have to pay more than $500 a month, and we would 100% be unhappy. So how does that look? So in the solo investor chance, as a solo investor chance, remember, we're being happy if we're paying $250 or less. As a solo investor, we have 83% chance of being happy. So remember, in the solo investor, you had a 33% chance of making $250, and you had a 50% chance of losing $250. So we have an 83% chance of being happy. But look at that, we have a 17% chance of being dead. Completely, we can't survive because we have to pay $750. And that 17% chance of dying is actually pretty big. It's a pretty high chance. So how does it look as a solo investor? I mean, as a team investor. As a team investor, we lose 3% chance of happiness. So our happiness went from 83% chance of being happy to 80% of being happy. Hey, that's okay as long as we gain something out of that. And we do. Look, now the chances of being completely dead drops down to 3%. Remember, being dead means that I have to pay $750 or more. So I now from 17% chance of being dead, it drops down to 3% chance of being dead. And that's the magic of doing it with the partnership. Then you have a 17% chance of being okay, and then 17% chance of being okay. Us being okay is we have to pay $250 to $500 a month. It will really affect our lifestyle, but it wouldn't be something we would be completely happy, so we feel okay. But look, this is what I showed to my wife. Hey, are we willing to lose 3% chance of being happy to make sure we don't end up dead? And as you can all tell by the way I'm talking, we ended up deciding to go with the partner. We ended up talking to one of my best friends, and we ended up making a talk to him and like, hey, we want to do real estate. I know you have the bucks. I know you want to do something like this, so let's work together. And we ended up. So now we're in the next video, we're going to talk about how that went. What are our next steps on building this company for us to start building this real estate portfolio. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to subscribe. Let me know what you think. Would you be one to do solo investor, or would you enjoy team investor? And remember, all this is different. This depends on the investor scenario, right? Like I mentioned, my wife and I are happy with the cases, right? We know what we're okay with. We know what we would be happy with. We know what we would be okay with, and we know what we wouldn't be okay with. And we also understand that only putting down 20% of down payment on the house reduces our cash flow from it, but that's okay because we're playing this long-term game. We don't want that cash flow right now. We're still pretty young at 27, but by the age of 40, we'll be able to use we'll have enough small cash flows coming in that we might not have to work anymore. So let's see how this goes. Like I said, make sure to subscribe, guys. In the next video, I'll talk about my partnership with my buddies, and I'll also do another video on how I look, where I intend to buy, and why I intend to buy in those regions, and how I go about looking at the property, where in that area to buy in. So make sure to subscribe. Let me know what you guys think, and take care. Have a good night.